A dead man's name shows up on an Ohio voter roll and raises more questions than answers. A woman shares an emotional story of overcoming obstacles while thousands of miles from home. And in sports, Ohio University football ups their chances of winning the MAC after a blowout victory last night. Newswatch starts right now.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
A voting official says it's hard to miss dead voters on the rolls. However, a poll worker in Cincinnati was shocked to find her dead neighbor's name on an active voter registry. And he didn't just die recently. The man had been dead for 14 years. Ryan Houston reports.
I feel like to have honest elections, you have to have good officials, and I feel like it's a civic responsibility for people to work at the polls.
Linda Zagota loves working at the voting polls. She's been at it now for more than 20 years. Zagota says she pays attention to every single thing.
So it was initially when we had the signature poll books that I became aware that my neighbor was still on the rolls. And then after it had been on so long, I became curious about it.
Zagota claims her next-door neighbor, who died back in 2004, showed up as an eligible voter for 14 years. She says she contacted the Hamilton County Board of Elections and was told that a family member needed to turn in a death certificate to have that person removed.
And I'm concerned that by someone being on the rolls, someone could improperly vote in their name.
I took her concerns right to the Hamilton County Board of Elections.
Since this has been brought to our attention, we've done a little more research and we've been able to obtain some more identifying information, and that person has now been canceled.
That's Sherry Poland. She's the director of the Hamilton County Board of Elections. She says the state and county does a very good job removing deceased voters from the rolls. But Poland tells us things happened differently this time.
We did receive a deceased Ohioan's report at that time that included his name, but it did not include his address. The report did have a date of birth, but we did not have a date of birth on file.
Poland says it normally takes her office about 30 days to receive notice of a deceased voter. If they have enough voter information to identify the person on file, that person is removed immediately. Now, her office still has about 790 voters in Hamilton County where they don't have their date of birth or identification on file because those people registered at a time when they did not have to give that information. Is it possible that you have another deceased voter on your rolls that maybe your office has missed or the state has missed?
I think it's highly unlikely. I really do. Between, as I said, we have more identifying information now from our voters.
Under the deceased man's name in all of the years it was incorrectly listed on the voter registry. And now they're working now to get identifying information from all the voters in the county. Voters in Ohio can still cast provisional ballots even if they were removed from the registration rolls, as long as they still live in the county where they were originally registered. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court's upholding of a court ruling from a lawsuit filed in 2016, challenging the state's voter roll maintenance method. Out of the 8 million registered voters in Ohio, none have been removed since the Supreme Court ruling. And more West Virginians have cast early ballots this year than the last midterm election. The Charleston Gazette-Mail reported more than 100,000 had been cast Thursday morning. Early voting doesn't end until Saturday. In 2014, there were only 90,000 cast during early voting. Just days before the midterm elections, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says social media accounts connected to his office have been hacked. Manchin is seeking re-election to the U.S. Senate this year. He's being challenged by Republican Patrick Morrisey, the state's Attorney General. The Democrat did not say when the accounts were hacked or to what extent, but his office says the accounts are now secure. Manchin's office is now working with federal and state law enforcement officials to prevent further hacking and secure all accounts. We won't be erased. That's what Ohio University's transgender and intersex students want people to know after a controversial memo released by the Trump administration. Students rallied outside at the university's College Green to show their support for those affected by the memo earlier today. Hayden Spurgeon, a student and faculty member at the LGBT Center, says she's rallying to make sure everyone is recognized as a person.
I hope that people just realize that, simply people are people no matter what, that, trans individuals are individuals just like you and I, no matter, everybody has their differences, everybody has parts of them that make them who they are, and I don't think we should take those parts away from people.
Trump's memo is pushing students to act in other ways too. On Wednesday, the newly reformed LGBT support group Swarm will have their first meeting. A number of employees at the Athens County Board of Developmental Disabilities are receiving pay raises after being approved by the Athens County Commissioners earlier this week. The new contract covers 14 different employees and sets minimum entry-level pay rates as well as a 50-cent per hour pay increase for all 14 employees. The workers affected by the contract include custodial workers to vehicle mechanics, among others.
From the Newswatch Weather Center, I'm Matt Thigpen. Looking across the region, it was a chilly day. Those temperatures have fallen since earlier this morning as that cold front has moved east into the Appalachia region. Taking a look across the region, 45 here in Athens with a nice northwest breeze moving in at about 5 miles per hour. Looking across the region, 43 in Columbus, seeing those showers developing over there. Just some leading showers behind that cold front. 43 in Chillicothe, 49 in our warmer spot down in Ironton and Ripley. And again, that cold front is starting to move into central West Virginia. So those temperatures are going to fall throughout the evening and into our Football Friday. So taking a look at our Football Friday night into playoffs here in Ohio in our final week over in West Virginia. 44 degrees at 7 p.m. at the end of this newscast as we see kickoff. 9 p.m. we see 43 degrees, a light breeze. Spotty showers start to increase by the end of the game, so you might need to take an umbrella or even a light jacket and bet it's an exciting week for some playoff football, and it'll be a chilly one. It'll feel like fall. Finally, we're here.
Thanks, Matt. Two parents are facing 3 years in prison after their 2-year-old daughter was found unresponsive on the porch in the cold. Tierra Williams and Darian Parker pleaded guilty to felony child endangering in her death. Authorities say Williams found Winter outside the family's Akron home February 2nd. She told a 911 dispatcher her daughter was frozen. Williams says she had left Winter with her husband for 2 hours while out with their 4-year-old son. The high temperature for the day was 19 degrees. Residents of Gahanna, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, are set to receive a repayment of over $13 million of income tax overpayments. Gahanna residents who worked outside of the city between 2008 and 2014 are eligible for repayment, as they paid income tax in Gahanna as well as the area they worked in. Over 17,000 residents, around half the city's population, are eligible to receive the repayments. The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services plans to spend over $8 million over the next 2 years to help employers and unemployed workers dealing with opioid addiction. The Federal Labor Department will be used to help out companies hiring people recovering from addiction, as well as creating addiction service apprenticeships at various community colleges. The money will be used to support 16 counties around Ohio. Coming up, we'll hear about the Republicans' thoughts on the economy heading into the midterms. And an Ohio University student plans to return to long-distance running despite setbacks. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
This is what we've all been waiting for. The postseason is finally here. Many teams that made it this far are ready to rock.
Yeah, it's win or go home for the guys on the gridiron, but Gridiron Glory still has a few more weeks before we end our season.
Yeah, we'll have you covered through week 13, and there's still football to be played until then.
Our social media team will have you covered. Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube content will keep you up to date.
So, through all the excitement, remember there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
I'm such a huge fan of PBS. For my entire life, It's been our window into a world of the arts that isn't available anywhere else on TV. We learn about our numbers and our letters and singing through music, through the incredible children's programming they have. And then we grow up and we get to see the world of the arts, whether it's ballet or opera or Broadway, and so many other amazing moments that you wouldn't get anywhere else except for PBS.
Republicans will have one final closing message to deliver to voters for midterms. The economy is roaring. A better-than-expected jobs report today could bolster Republicans going into Tuesday's election. But Democrats argue that those numbers don't tell the whole story. Omar Jimenez has the latest from Washington.
The unemployment rate just fell to the lowest level in over 50 years. More Americans are working now than any time in history.
President Trump and Republicans are banking on the strong economy heading into the final weekend before the midterm elections. The latest jobs report showing 250,000 added jobs in October, much higher than expected.
We've got wage growth that's the highest we've seen in a decade. We've got a $250,000 or 250,000 person job number that, despite the hurricane, and we're seeing people reconnect to the labor force.
And that labor force participation rate at its highest level since May 2010.
The people who had been previously disconnected from society, discouraged because they were long-term unemployed because of the Great Recession, they're really coming back into the labor market in droves.
The unemployment rate in this report stayed at 3.7%, and wages grew a little over 3%. All good signs. But some Democrats say it's not just about the numbers.
The economy's not the stock market, it's not the unemployment rate, and it's certainly not the GDP. It's whether people are doing better, saving more, and dreaming bigger for their kids.
Now, the question is, how long can it last? Given the ongoing trade war with China, the potential for inflation, and the fact that economic expansions don't last forever. But for the time being, politically, it just needs to last 4 days until election night, as Republicans hope it helps them cling to their congressional majority. In Washington, I'm Omar Jimenez.
Many parents and epilepsy patients across the country may finally be able to breathe a sigh of relief when it comes to treatment options. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved the first cannabis-based drug, and today it's available in all 50 states. Epidiolex is a twice-daily oral solution for patients ages 2 and older who suffer from either Dravet syndrome or Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. It's only available with a prescription. GW Pharmaceuticals does expect most insurance plans to cover it. Coming up, we'll hear about a woman's path to return to running, despite being thousands of miles from home. That story's still ahead.
And taking a look at some of the weather headlines, we'll take a look at showers, when they will return tonight, our next chance for rain, and some mild temperatures are in the forecast. Next on Newswatch, but here's a look at stocks in our local interest.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
I love PBS because at the heart of everything PBS does is education.
I use PBS not only in my home, but also in my classroom.
It's kind of the idea of being the great equalizer for learning and for education.
I'm a lifelong learner, and PBS has always been part of that journey for me.
I love PBS because PBS supports teachers.
They know what works for kids and what's best for kids, and that's why I love PBS.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
Wild weather in recent days is causing significant damage in parts of Italy. The president of the Veneto Regional Council says around 300,000 trees were flattened. Winds hit 194 kilometers per hour and swept through the Val d'Assa. He says tens of thousands of tall trees fell, quote, like toothpicks. Now, Matt, what can we expect weather-wise these next couple of hours?
Well, we're going to see some mild temperatures, but first off, let's look at this daylight savings time. This starts Sunday at 2 a.m. We fall back an hour, so you get an extra rest on your bed. More daylight in the morning, but it gets dark at night when you're on your way home, so be careful out there. Watch out for them deer. Turn those brights on so you'll have more light going into work, but not coming home. Taking a look at Athens right now, 45 degrees. Again, most of the region is around the 45 degree mark, mid to lower 40s as that cold front is pushing off to the west. Cloudy, we'll see some spotty showers across much of the region. Again, those spotty showers are going to be across our western regions. Those will slowly work their way to the east. 44 in New Lexington, 44 up in Newark, and 43 in Cambridge. Taking a look at our Friday night football, we're seeing playoffs here in the Southeast Ohio region. 44 at 7 p.m., mostly cloudy skies, slight chance of rain showers all the way down to 11 p.m. We'll see those temperatures slightly drop, a little breezy out, a little 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze, so you got to watch out for those kickers out there. Spotty showers increasing by the time you hit that last whistle. Looking across the region for tonight, we're going to be in the mid to upper 30s, a couple spots in the lower 40s along the mountains, 40 in Ironton, 41 in Ripley, and again, that chance of showers does linger as that cold front progresses eastward. Athens for tomorrow, we see 54 degrees, 55 down in Jackson. We'll see bright and sunny skies, few clouds as that cold front again moves away. It's slow to get out of here as it has lingered throughout this week. We saw almost 2 inches of rain. 53 in Chillicothe in our colder spot up there in Newark at 51 degrees. Taking a look at the precipcast, this high pressure is what's going to dominate our region. Give us those sunny skies, those clouds. Get out of there. There's that pesky cold front. Get out of here. Get out into the Atlantic Ocean. Looking across tonight, we'll see another low pressure system move in for Saturday. And Saturday evening, we'll see continued dry conditions. Taking a look at our weekend, mild and sunny again on Saturday, 54 degrees, 35 we fall to on Saturday evening. Quite chilly evening, so you need a jacket if you're out there going out for Dad's weekend this weekend here in Athens. Again, 61 on Sunday, so we had a brief warm period. We'll be mostly cloudy as our next weather maker moves into the region. Looking at our extended forecast, Monday we start out the work week 66 degrees, sunny skies, so we're near 70 once again. That'll feel delightful. I will be in shorts. 67, election day. We've got to watch out for some storms, 67 degrees. So gusty winds and damaging winds are a possibility. 54 on Thursday, and ending out the work week next week, we got to watch out for a possible winter storm. We go on Fridays, but those models are still in disagreement, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you updated on that throughout the week and weekend. Ben?
Thanks, Matt. Ohio University student is training to run across the country for the second time. Newswatch reporter Caitlin Coolidge tells us how this student is training despite many obstacles in her life.
Lighting a candle and covering her eyes with a heat pad is how Ilona Hartman mitigates the effects she has from her third concussion. and is how she's getting well enough to train for her 4,000-mile run across the country. She plans to eventually get back to running so she can run from Baltimore to San Francisco this summer. The Dutch international student wanted to tackle this run across the U.S. to support her baby cousin, who had cancer, last year, but her concussion she received from a field hockey practice forced her to cancel the run. Instead, she began focusing on just getting through each day.
Since I was struggling so much with my health, I decided to choose for myself for the next couple of weeks. Just focus on recovery and focusing on classes. Going to class was kind of challenging at the beginning of the semester.
Ilona was not able to look at a computer screen for too long, let alone go for a jog. And days after the injury, another tragedy struck. Ilona's baby cousin, her reason for signing up for this run, passed away. Hartman was devastated.
It felt unreal at the beginning. It was kind of just like one of those famous or infamous black holes.
But Hartman is not letting her injury keep her from her coast-to-coast run. She says the memory of her baby cousin and her friends help her stay motivated, especially her friend Sarah.
She has been an extra motivation and inspiration for me to continue, get better, training, and to raise money together.
Now, Ilona is confident she will complete the run this coming summer and has a more positive outlook on life.
I still have my eyesight, I can still see the world and talk to people, and there is always something positive.
Hartman will begin her run on June 16th and will make it to San Francisco on August 3rd, all in the name of her baby cousin and families who are affected by cancer. For Stephen Hernandez, I'm Caitlin Coolidge, reporting for Newswatch.
Ilona is having a pancake fundraiser tomorrow from 8 to 10 a.m. at Applebee's on East State Street in Athens. The Ohio Supreme Court says a lawsuit against the University of Notre Dame and the NCAA can proceed. The suit claims a former football player who died 3 years after suffering from brain disease was disabled by concussions. The suit was filed after doctors diagnosed Stephen Schmitz with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Schmitz played football at Notre Dame in the 1970s. The NCAA and Notre Dame argued the case had to be filed within the 2-year statute of limitations, but the court disagrees. There are hundreds of similar suits against the NCAA, saying it didn't do enough to protect players from head injuries.
I'm Paul Roth, and today in sports, I'll be giving you a preview of both the men's and women's basketball seasons. Plus, highlights from the Bobcats' dismantling of Western Michigan last night, next on Newswatch. And stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
A box that showed you. This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
This is what we've all been waiting for. The postseason is finally here. Many teams that made it this far are ready to rock.
Yeah, it's win or go home for the guys on the gridiron, but Gridiron Glory still has a few more weeks before we end our season.
Yeah, we'll have you covered through week 13, and there's still football to be played until then.
Our social media team will have you covered. Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube content will keep you up to date.
So, through all the excitement, remember there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at woub.org. And thank you.
Welcome back, I'm Paul Roth. The Ohio football team was in Kalamazoo last night for some midweek MACtion, facing Western Michigan for the first time since losing to them in the 2016 MAC championship, and boy did they get their revenge. The Bobbies looked unstoppable, scoring the first 45 points of the game and blanking the Broncos in the first half on their way to a 49-14 victory. They forced 6 turnovers in the game, 4 fumbles and 2 picks, and 5 of them came in the first half. 5. But that was just the defensive effort. The Bobcats offense put up 59 points. And who was the catalyst for that offensive explosion? None other than himself, Air Canada quarterback Nathan Rourke. He was nearly perfect through the air, completing 12 of his 14 passes for 149 yards and 3 touchdowns, as well as 68 yards and another 2 touchdowns on the ground. The Bobcats are now 6-3 on the season and 4-1 in the MAC. They will head to Oxford next Wednesday to face their rival Miami. And college basketball is finally back. The Bobcats basketball team takes the court for the first time tomorrow in an exhibition game with Rio Grande starting at 3 p.m. The Bobcats were picked to finish 4th in the East in the MAC preseason poll, which was just released a few days ago. But there is hope for this Bobcat team. After last season's forgettable 14-17 campaign, the boys will have more experience on their side this year. They return 4 of their 5 starters and have a much easier start to this season playing Wilberforce and Campbell instead of Clemson and Dayton. And the Ohio women's basketball team is also back in action tomorrow. They too have an exhibition game as they welcome Walsh to the Convo. Now, the ladies also didn't have a memorable season last year as they posted a 16-15 record. But this team has high hopes. In the MAC preseason poll, they were picked to finish 3rd in the East, but were just 5 points out of 1st and got some first place votes as well. The ladies are also returning 4 of their starters, and they'll look to lean on their experience to lead them deep in the MAC tournament after getting bounced in the quarterfinals last season against Miami. And the Bobcats soccer team looks to continue their march to a MAC championship. They take on Bowling Green tonight at 7 in the MAC tournament semifinals. They beat a solid Kent State team last weekend 2-1, but tonight's test will be even tougher. Bowling Green is the #1 seed in the conference and the tournament. They have just 1 conference loss all season. Even worse for Ohio, this Falcons team is 9-1-1 at home this year, and that's the site of tonight's game. But this Bobcats team is a resilient one and has scratched and clawed all season, and Coach Aaron Rodgers sees the positives that come along with their tough task.
We're lucky that we played them already at their field. So going back there, we're familiar with the surroundings, and it's kind of it's a good thing for us. This team is always so coachable. At halftime, whatever adjustments that we talk to them about, they do it, and they do it really well. So they're a very coachable group.
That's all for sports. Back to you, Ben.
The Statue of Liberty, Broadway, Times Square. Popular destinations in New York City. Central Park also makes the list, but people are flocking there for a new reason. People can't get enough photos of one of Central Park's newest additions, a mandarin duck. The reason why it's causing such a buzz, the duck is a native to East Asia. It shouldn't be in the middle of Manhattan. Bird experts say the duck probably won't migrate for the winter, and it should survive the cold. City officials won't remove the duck unless they think it's in danger or in poor health.
Well, all this rain this week would make me go quack, quack, quack. 54 for this weekend. We're finally drying out, so it's not so great duck weather. 35 will hit a low on Saturday evening. 61 on Sunday. Mild for this time of the year. Mild for this time of the year. Here we go. 66 on Monday. 67 on Election Day. Storms headed our way on Tuesday. Ben?
Thanks, Matt. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Ben Schwartz. Have a great night. And stay tuned.